everyone. Welcome in to the Voice of College Football, West Virginia style. I'm Joey. Hey, guess what? Guess who we got? We got Mr. Shane over there. What's going on, Shane?
Not much. I mean, other than scratching my head trying to figure this out with the news and what's going on with the Big 12. But I'm hoping, Joey, you can shed some light on that and make me smart because
All right.
have a bad opinion, bad taste in my mouth. I'm gonna have to drink coffee.
So I'm not a financial planner or a guru of any kind, right? I mean, absolutely not. So, but I have been sitting here crunching some numbers today, talking about things, and I called the smartest man I know, which is Tony Altimore, and
Yeah,
and was crunching these numbers with him, and he said, "Yeah, I was right, but I have to watch out for this, this, and this, right?" So, and which he was right about that. Let me go over some stuff with you guys. Let's just say the Big 12 decides to go with this $1 billion influx of cash. What can it do for the Big 12? $1 billion influx right off the bat, right? Well, all of a sudden, if they get the whole billion in one setting, 1 billion, they can invest it. Let's say they give each team 5 million extra a year, right? 16 teams, that's $80 million. Let's just say each team gets $5 million extra a year right off the bat. So we went from 31 million or 32 million or whatever it is to 36, 37 million, right? Then our tier three rights on that, which is another 8 to 10 million or whatever. Fine. Now, what happens when we invest the other $920 million? If we invest it the right way, we can draw some pretty interesting interest off of that. Because here's the thing about it: colleges, universities, and conferences can get much better interest rates than you and I can, right? I think probably the best interest rate we could find out there would be what, 5.2%, maybe 5.4%. We're lucky. And then you probably going to be lucky if you find that. But they can get a lot better than that. Conferences can, as well as the Big 12, or so well as universities. I mean, if you figure up 5.2% and you invest $920 million, then it's going to draw about $50 million a year interest. Now, if you're giving each team 80 million, an extra five, and 50 million of it's being made through interest, this money can last for quite a few years, right? I mean, this can go on for quite a long time. Mind you, the interest is going to go down every year because it's going to be a little bit less money in there. 30 million less the first year. It'd probably be 40 million less the second year. It's going to go down. But this money can last for a long time to give us an extra 5 million per team. So what is the big investor getting out of it? 15 to 20%. So he's only going to get the percentage of the 21 million. He's not going to get a percentage of all of it. He's not going to get a percentage of his investment. He's going to get a percentage of 31 or 32 million that the conference is promised from media, right? So they're going to get what, 3 million to $6 million a year interest, or back on their investment. So I think there could be a great thing about the investment, the $1 billion influx of cash. I think there could be some really good points about that because simple reason that when you figure the interest up on that, and then you figure you're paying each team an extra 5 million a year, and you're drawing interest on that. And like I said, that's that $50 million interest is on an interest rate that me and you could get. That's not an interest rate that a university or anybody could get because they can get a lot better than that. So they could easily make 80 million a year just off interest after giving everybody 5 million a year. They could easily get the extra 80 million a year to keep that 5 million up forever, for absolute ever, and
yeah,
never have to get any more money. So the other night, Thursday night, when we were talking about this, you said, and you called it a payday loan, and I agree. I agreed 100%. It's like a payday loan. But at the same time, I'm looking at it as, well, wait a minute, hold on. Maybe it is a payday loan, maybe so, but that payday loan can actually draw interest and accrue over the years, and we can actually continue to get an extra $5 million influx into this conference per team every year. And I know that's still not nothing compared to SEC or Big Ten. That's nothing compared to them. But still, an extra $5 million per team per year is a pretty nice loan payment to upgrade their facilities, right? So everybody could upgrade their facilities and pay an extra 5 million, that extra 5 million a year into that facility upgrade, and we could keep up with some of them teams right now. Now, here's what I'm thinking: we only got to go to 2031. If we can make it to 2031 and get that extra 5 million a year plus our tier 3 rights, then on top of that, the naming rights, which we'll go over in a minute, we get the money from the naming rights. 2031, if some of our teams in the Big 12 can play for or win national championships and become TV relevant, all of a sudden 2031, we're right there getting money just like SEC Big 10 is.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden we get that extra 5 million on top of that, and we're making some money. You know, we can actually pass them in the future. I think that might be what Brent Yormark's looking at. Now, here's the naming right thing. Right now, from what I understand or what I've read, all states in the lead for that, 30 plus million a year. All right, so 30 plus million a year is what, roughly $1.7 million per team. And the Big 12, $1.7 million, maybe let's just round it up and say 2 million a year. 2 million a year extra there. So you got the 31 to 32 million that the conference has promised. Then you got the extra 2 million from naming rights. Then you've got the extra 5 million if they do that. If they do 5 million, they got the extra 5 million. So now all of a sudden you're pushing closer to 40 million. Now we already know the Big 12 the last couple of years has gotten over 50 million per team when it was all said and done. So now if we get there, if we can get to where we're now, all of a sudden we're pretty much guaranteed over 40 million. Now we're all of a sudden going to get it probably closer to 60 million per team. So that can be a huge plus for the Big 12. But at the same time, here's the downfall of this. This is a large equity firm. If you trace the roots back, because they don't give you the names, you trace the roots back of the company that's wanting to invest in this, it goes all the way back to the United Arab Emirates. Guess where that is, guys?
Yeah.
Where's that at, Shane? You spent some time over there. Where's that at?
In the Middle East, guys.
In the Middle East. Yeah.
This okay, from what I've researched today and read last night, this is going to look similar in the future. Hear me out. I'm just looking in not the magic 8 ball, but I'm looking at a crystal ball. The soccer sponsorship, let me give you an example, would be like the Premier League sponsors, where they have like the sleeve kit and shirt kit sponsorship, and you can get naming rights for, like, say, the Backyard Brawl, brought to you by Discount Tire or Allstate Insurance, or the whatever the game is, it's going to be presented by. It's just another way to get ad revenue, I believe. And I think what this will do is it might give the Big 12 that little sparkle, that little pizzazz, that little carrot that will bring in Miami, Louisville, Pitt, Virginia Tech, NC State. With that, you can bring those other folks in because you have the revenue to keep that pot of money at that level to keep them competitive. If you have a big conference, I hate to say it, but it will make the Big 12 more relevant, because right now it's apples and oranges compared to, you have the Big 10, SEC, both apples. The Big 12 is a big freaking orange.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, if you look at the SEC, they're getting $710 million per year, something like that. 710 million per year average, the Big 10 is, or the SEC. The Big 10 is getting 1.15 billion a year. All right, so we're kind of excited about this $1 billion coming into the Big 12. Well, the Big 10's getting that every single year, 1.15 billion. But then the Big 12, we're not small potatoes. We're getting 380 million, at 380 million, I believe it is, a year. The ACC is 240 million, so we're still 140 million over the ACC. Now, if I'm thinking right. I'm thinking that's what it is. 880 million for the Big 12, 240 million for ACC. Now, on top of that, you have to also remember the Big 12, the universities own their tier 3 rights. They get that money. That does not go to the conference where it does in the ACC, it does in the Big 10, it does in the SEC. The tier 3 rights go to the conference and then they divide them up or whatever. Mind you, it's the same difference probably. They're dividing it up just like it's going to be divided up with the Big 12 teams. But the Big 12 is going to get the extra money on top of that 380 million from tier 3 rights. They're going to get that extra money. So, there could be some really good, strong policies here to grab a Miami. Hey, listen, if I'm Florida State and I'm sitting there in the ACC saying, here's what I'm looking at. Now, all of a sudden, the Big 12 is going to pay all their teams an extra 5, 6, 7 million a year, maybe more. It's according to probably what interest rate they get off this billion. Let's just say they're going to pay them more per year. All right, so now all of a sudden the money is almost double what the ACC is going to be getting. So if you're Florida State, if you don't have a shot to get in the SEC, let's say the SEC says, "Nah, we're not open for business right now." Big Ten says, "Thanks, but no thanks. Maybe we'll call you in a few years." Hey, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, those teams could end up in the Big 12 with this $1 billion influx of cash. When we're already making more money than they are, we could actually sweeten that pot quite a bit for them. So I look at the pros and cons of that. The pros are this: more money for every team and a chance to bring in some teams out of other conferences. Downfall of that is, guess what? It's equity firm. An equity firm has to sell. They cannot keep that out there. It's an investment. So eventually they have to sell it. Let's say they wait 5 years. Let's say they keep it for 5 years and then sell it. We don't know who they're going to sell it to. My fear is it could be a Chinese company or a North Korean company, or some billionaire out of North Korea, who all of a sudden has a say in our conference. Now, I mentioned that to Tony Altomore, and he said, well, they could put some stuff in the contract that would, keep that from happening. I agree. They probably could. But I also know that contracts get challenged every day in court and contracts get overturned every day in court. So I worry about that if they want to sell it to some billionaire out of North Korea and it's in the contract that they can't do it, they just challenge it in court and maybe win. Maybe win. There's always a chance, right? You don't know what's going to happen. So.
What my concern is, Joey, is it locks West Virginia in a position where they have to stay in the Big 12 if the Big 12 implodes. Or it links them to a sinking ship or these schools. If the Big 12 doesn't stay viable, then you have, North Korea. They have, I don't think
they don't have any money. Let me tell you what, North Korea's got billionaires in it. And if you think they don't, I'm sorry, they do a lot of billionaires.
Here's the thing. You could use that $1 billion to leverage teams like Florida State, like Clemson, to come on board. Hey, right. Here's the bonus. If you want to be a part of this, we'll make it worth your while. We'll give you an extra $20 million to become part of, we will make the difference up over 3 years of what you'd make in the SEC. That gives them some wiggle room they did not have. I mean, it makes them look a lot more attractive to these teams. I think that's a great thing. The back end is when you have to pay it off. It's like, it's like people that put vacations on credit cards, or, it's a great idea at the time, but it's going to take a while to pay it off. But, I don't know. The jury's out.
That's what concerns me too, is we haven't heard these numbers and we don't know how long this is for. This might be forever. This might be that we have to pay them 20% of the conference forever.
That's what you need to know. And when they sell it, could the Big 12 buy the rights back? But that would be a lot of money that they'd have to come up with. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens. However, Joey, if the Big 12 does this, I'm sure the SEC and the Big 10 will follow suit. I mean, this is what Premier League soccer looks like. I mean, most of these sponsors go through the United Arab Emirates, and it's just the way of the world over there. I think it's going to become more like soccer. I said that a few months ago. We're going to be in at a situation, we're going to be looking like Premier League soccer. I don't know if we're going to be relegated down or up or anything like that, but these conferences are now competing for slices of a revenue pie. Okay. And right now you have 60 teams that are competing for 40 teams worth of revenue. That's just the way it is, guys. If you think that West Virginia and Oklahoma State, which are very similar as far as the money they bring in and the value they have, are very similar, and they're competing against Rutgers and Northwestern, for those eyeballs. And eventually, I think it's going to, even out, and you're going to have teams that aren't competing and aren't carrying the load. Rutgers, Northwestern, Vanderbilt, they're going to have to be relegated because you in order to drink, you have to carry enough water.
I just looked it up, and amazingly, I was pretty damn close. I looked up SEC 710 million per year. I think I said 700. Big Ten 1.15 billion a year, which is what I said. Big 12 380 million per year, which is what I said, and ACC 240 million a year. Big 12 380 million per year runs through 2031. ACC 240 million per year runs through 2036. I think both of them have a little bit of gradual increase in there. So I don't know if these numbers are the overall average, which would be 140 million a year more for the Big 12 than the ACC. And the ACC goes all the way to 2036. Big 12 ends in 2031. Now, here's my thoughts on this. Let's just say we can get that, like I said earlier in the show, we can get the Big 12, get that influx of money in here, and we can invest it and give each team 5 million, 10 million extra a year or whatever, and invest the rest and let it come back, and double itself or whatever in money. This can go on for a very long time, the extra money, right? With that $1 billion. Even with the other company getting 20%, this could help. But like I say, it can also in 2031, if we can win a national championship in the Big 12, or if we can compete in a couple of national championships, or we're going to make playoffs. Obviously, we're going to make playoffs because we're a Power Four conference. But let's just say we can have a couple of years, or maybe 3 years between now and 2031, where we make the Final Four or the actual championship game, the national championship game. That would help with TV revenue come 2031 when contracts are rewritten, and maybe we can catch up with the SEC closer to the Big Ten. SEC is probably going to be where the Big Ten is by 2031. Big Ten is going to be a lot higher, probably. Big 12 can probably catch up to where the SEC is right now. So that's what I'm looking at is let's just get this is a life raft to get us to 2031, right? And like you said, the point you made, hey, wouldn't it be great if we got this money, if we got the $1 billion, and we was able to look at Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and I don't know, North Carolina, and say, hey, you four, maybe the SEC and Big Ten are not open for business right now. We'll give each one of you $100 million come our way.
Yeah,
hey, that's a pretty good amount of money.
I think that's better if you leverage that money. I mean, I'm not a big fan of divvying out to each university. Okay. I don't think I think you need to leverage that money for sponsorships, for, new venues, for maybe getting those new venues being Clemson, Florida State, Louisville. If you bring those teams in, I think that puts you in a position where you're going to be competitive. You can leverage that for a better look in the playoffs, for getting a more a more even piece of the pie. Because right now, the way the college playoff system set up for football, the SEC and the Big Ten get a couple more, wedgies, if you know what I mean. They get a couple little more slices. They get another chance to get in there. I think it would be beneficial for the Big 12 to have this money and leverage it for just to look better. I mean, it passes the eyeball test. You know, Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, it's open season. They have a lawsuit against their conference. They're that unhappy. It makes sense, guys. If you're going to go shopping, you got to have the card. And now the Big 12 has the the black card, and they're getting ready to do some damage. I'm very excited. I do think it's a payday loan, but it could be a very, very bad thing. But we'll see what Brent does with it.
I'm interested to see, because obviously he's a lot smarter at this stuff than I am, or you are, and I'm probably pretty dumb at it. But I just looked at it as, how would I do it in my own family? Would I leverage it? Would I invest it? Would I, am I going to invest over here, or am I going to invest over there? Where do you invest it at? And so I just decided to go with a simple thing to say, okay, let's just put it into an interest-bearing savings account, 5.2% interest, $50 million a year, give each team $5 million extra a year. It's an extra $5 million a year. It would go on for a very, very long time at that rate. Probably forever, because they're going to get a lot better interest rate than 5.2%. It would probably go on forever at that rate. Let's just say that, because these universities and conferences can get better. I'm going to do something, but this is a spur of the moment pop up for you guys. We don't ever do a live on Saturday, right? So we just wanted to do it to just hang out with you guys for a little while and talk about this. I'm going to post a StreamYard link. If anybody wants to join us, if you got a comment on this, or you want to talk about this, maybe you've got a question on this, or maybe you've got a solution to all this. Hey, if you're a financial planner, get your butt in here. Please. If you know where this money can go to for the best possible return, come in and tell us. I'd like to know. I'd like to know what we can do with it, because I'm sure that $1 billion can go a lot further than what any of us are thinking. I'm sure it can go a lot further. Maybe we need somebody that could. Maybe we should. Shane, why don't you give Donald Trump a call and get him in there with us, and see what we can do. See where we can invest $1 billion the best.
Conference. They're doing good things. Happy for them. Big fan. Brent, it's my friend. Known him for a long time.
Jackson Johnson coming in with us. What's going on, Jackson? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you gents doing this afternoon?
Doing good. I'm interested to see what you think of this craziness.
The All-State 12, good grief. It's a little...
How about the Midol 12, or, Pamperin 12, or...
Well, here's my thoughts on this. If they call it the All-State Conference, it's going to sound like a high school conference, right? All-State, right? How many times have you heard players an All-State player, right? So if you have an All-State conference, it's a high school conference. I don't like that. So I did anybody watch Josh Pate today or yesterday? Josh Pate was talking about the good names for the Big 12. If it was a Pop-Tart, if Pop-Tart was sponsoring us, it could be the Pop 12 conference, which would be kind of cool. But then at the end of the show, he said, what if Southwest Airlines sponsored it and it became the Southwest Conference, which would be the perfect name? And he's right. That would be the perfect name, Southwest Conference, if Southwest Airlines. Now, mind you, Southwest Airlines probably broke and not going to give the Big 12 Conference any money a year. But if they could come up with some kind of a good company instead of Allstate already has their hands so much in college football that they could be great for the Big 12. What would you name the conference? The Allstate Big 16? The Allstate? Yeah, what is it? I mean, there's nothing catchy. I can't come up with anything.
The All-State Conference?
Yeah, the All-State Conference. That's what I said. It's like a high school thing then, All-State Conference.
Good grief.
It'd be funny. All right. So anyway, what are your thoughts on all this, Jackson? Did you get to hear everything that I was saying?
I got to hear some stuff. It's just I'm just on wait and see mode, see what happens for all of college football. It's just I hope the Big 12 stays the same. Like the name stays.
Well, let's just say the Big 12 decides to take this $1 billion and just dispatch it, just disperse it to every university all at once. So what's that? 65, $70 million a piece, right? All at
Okay.
once. Every team in the league's getting 65, $70 million. Plus they're going to make 30 million this year. That's still $20 million less than the Big 12 is going to get overall. So it just makes no sense to me to do that. I think if you got to stretch it out a little bit and give every team an extra 5 million and save some money for a rainy day, because we do want those ACC schools just in case the SEC comes calling for Florida State or North Carolina, or the Big Ten comes calling for one of them teams, right? We want to have the money to be able to draw in a Miami or a Clemson that maybe didn't get chosen, or a UNC that didn't get chosen, whoever, a Virginia Tech, a Pitt. We want to have the money to be able to draw them in and say, we can give you full revenue sharing right off the bat. So if we have the money in the investment and it's sitting there drawing interest, then we can do that, right? It wouldn't hurt the conference at all to do that. And then in 2031, guess what? Like I say, we make some playoffs and get into the Final Four, the playoffs, and maybe make a championship game or two between here and 2031. People start watching the Big 12 a little bit more. All the TV revenue goes up, and now all of a sudden we're up there competing with the SEC and Big Ten. I think that's where Brent Yormark's going with this.
Yeah.
It's trying to get us to that level, to where we can compete with the SEC and Big Ten. So how he invests this money is going to go a long way, right? We have to know, do we trust Brent Yormark to do the right thing with this money to where, in 2031, we're still able to compete with the SEC and Big Ten and maybe have some extra money in there. That's what my concern is.
I
And I
believe he
trust him.
can. I believe he
trust
can.
him. I trust him when it comes to basketball and television media and revenue and things. I don't know yet on football and the media and the way they are, because look, let's face it, there are some good teams in the Big 12 that get some good viewing, media viewing, right? West Virginia, I think, probably the biggest one, and then you have to go down to probably Oklahoma State, Arizona, Utah, probably not Utah, Arizona, Colorado. Those teams all get great viewers and stuff, but they're nothing compared to an Alabama. They're nothing compared to a Georgia or an Ohio State or a Michigan. Absolutely nowhere near it. We're not going to be near that in 2031 either. So we have to bring in some teams that will get viewers like that. And guess what? That's a Florida State or a Clemson or a Miami we need to bring in. If the SEC and Big Ten grab those teams, we could be in trouble. So I'm hoping that maybe we can leverage this money to grab some of them teams. Who knows?
If
Well, one thing I think that could really help is put BYU Utah on Black Friday. Don't be shoving it in the middle of October or the
Yeah.
1st November. Put it on Black Friday. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Who's going to get excited about Colorado or Oklahoma State? That just screams, oh, that's our not rival Colorado. It's like people that get excited about being with someone who's not their ads. I mean, that's just what it screams to me. It's got that kind of energy for me. I mean, nobody's getting excited about Colorado, Oklahoma State on Black Friday. They're getting excited about Mississippi State, or Georgia Tech. I mean, there's a reason why they didn't put Arkansas, Missouri on there for Black Friday this year, because it doesn't draw attention.
So let me do something real quick, because I hadn't done this yet. So Timothy Green out there in the chat, appreciate you, Timothy. Timothy's always with us. One of our most loyal viewers. Him and Kelly and a couple others. The voice of college football, Mark Rogers, popping in with us for a little bit. Appreciate you being here, Mark. Moose is in here, a Michigan fan. He says, "What's up, Joey and Shane? Appreciate you being here." Cookie Fruit's in here with us. Appreciate you coming in, Cookie Fruit, saying hi. Let's see. Let me get down through here. Sorry. Hoghead's a great friend of mine. Matter of fact, he's going to be running Hog Fest come next month, July 18th to the 21st. look up Hog Fest, July 18th through 21st on Facebook, and join the group. If you'd like to go to that, it's open for all YouTubers. You just have to email Hoghead. He will have his email address there. It's going to be in Robbinsville, North Carolina, and he has a beautiful campground there, with cabins and stuff on it, and you can rent you a cabin and come out with us. Going down through there, of course, we have Jackson Johnson in here, and of course he's here with us now. But I want to get some of these comments here. Let me go. Let me find some of these comments here. All right, so this one right here, that's you. I'm sorry, not that one. All right, here we go. Nope. Where am I at? Jackson, you got so many comments in there. I keep clicking on yours. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go.
Spangler, make sure they can become a member of West Virginia channel.
Yeah, Spangler's saying, I don't think North Korea has any money. Well, North Korea may not have a lot of money, but they got plenty of billionaires. I promise you, they've got billionaires galore. Cookie Fruit House, Mountaineer recruiting during these days. Mountaineer recruiting is going to be something I'm going to touch on here in a minute because, hey guys, Neil Brown's been tearing it up the last 3 or 4 days. Have you guys seen this? And every time I turn around, we're getting like this big, huge recruit.
Yeah,
we're flipping guys.
Yeah, maybe he got hold of that $1 billion before everybody else.
Yeah. Flatty in here with us. I think I missed Flatty a while ago. Flatty's a great friend of mine from some other channels. She popped in to give us a thumbs up, I'm sure, because she's not a college football fan, but Flatty, I do appreciate you being here. I love you, and thank you for being here. FSU and Clemson joining the Big 12 would bring great balance to the college football world. Those schools should realize their place in the sport and make the jump. Thoughts, Shane? FSU and Clemson should make the jump.
Great equalizer, guys. If Miami, Florida State, Clemson join the Big 12 with Louisville, you're talking seismic shift. You're talking some serious college football being played, and I would have to say that would be on par with the Big 10 because they have three or four teams, and then you have the Big 12 that has like 8 teams that are stellar. I mean, out of the 16, so more than 50% of the conference can win a college championship in my eyes, where the Big 10 there's not much parity. You have, Penn State's always sniffing the top tier, but they're still second tier in the Big 10. It's Ohio State, Michigan, usually Ohio State, but Michigan's kind of been on the upswing there, where Michigan has been kind of the little brother to Ohio State, but with Wisconsin kind of right with Penn State, where the ACC you have basically Clemson, Florida State, and that's it. Everybody else. Pitt has won a conference championship, but that was on a very down year. I mean, come on, guys. This isn't rocket science. People want to see parity. They don't want to see Vanderbilt playing Mississippi State. Don't want to see Wisconsin play Northwestern. What's that?
Who does?
Yeah. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody cares about Ohio State and Indiana, right? I mean, nobody cares about Ohio State and Rutgers. I mean, mind you, Rutgers, Greg Schiano's got the program on the upswing. I agree with that, but still, yet it's Rutgers, right?
What you guys are forgetting, I want to make this point last night, but I didn't make it. A lot of times we watch college football for 2 reasons: because we love the team or we want to see the team lose. Now, Nebraska, for example, I'm sure a lot of people in the old, before they moved to the Big 10, Kansas fans would tune into Nebraska hoping they would lose. Or, you would see people tune into Nebraska. People in the Big 10 could give 2 craps. There's no disdain for Nebraska right now like there was. So people aren't watching that team. You want to watch teams. There's teams you love to hate. Some people love or hate Notre Dame, but they're going to get eyeballs on television screens. You have Pitt. I don't like Pitt, but I'll watch a little bit of it to see how bad they're doing or how great they're doing. I want to see that. If those teams are not playing in the same conference, you lose that love-hate relationship. You don't give two craps, and that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I think if you went back and looked at to West Virginia University from 2000 to 2011, right? I think we would have a lot more viewers per per. I think it would be a lot more viewers per televised show than today, and that's because we're playing in the Big 12. We have no rivalries in the Big 12. Absolutely zero, zilch, none. And we haven't developed any since we've been there for over 10 years. We haven't developed any. So who's watching these games? Now, mind you, sure, 2018 when West Virginia and Texas played, and West Virginia was what, 9th or 10th, and Texas was 12th or 13th. Yeah, I mean, people watch that. But if you're not a highly ranked West Virginia team playing a highly ranked team, people aren't watching. It's just now. Before, I think when we were in the Big East, people watched it when West Virginia and Pitt played. People watched it West Virginia and Virginia Tech played, or West Virginia and Boston College, West Virginia Syracuse, because those were regional rivalries. West Virginia and Maryland was a big rivalry, even though Maryland wasn't in the Big East. It was a game that was played every year. That was pretty much one of our games we played almost every single year. And Maryland was always a measuring stick for West Virginia. If we beat Maryland, we were going to have a pretty decent season. You know, so,
Yeah, you see how good you were, because Maryland was kind of like the water test. It was right at the
right.
right at the middle. If you were better than Maryland, you were above average. If you got lost to Maryland, you're going to have a rough year. So that was the measuring stick. But last night I said in the show that for Pitt, Cincinnati would be that measuring stick for them. But guys, I'll tell you what, it's crazy that we're in this world, but Tim Green was right. You can't forget Oregon and Washington moving to the Big Ten. It does help them a little bit, but are they going to be another Penn State, another Wisconsin, or are they going to be top tier like Ohio State and now recently Michigan? Because Michigan has not been, other than winning a national championship most recently, they have not been they've been mediocre. I mean, they've kind of fell way under the high expectations they had. So Ohio State, however, has been consistent and very good for a very long time. Although I think they're a little bit on the downswing. But
so I will.
You mentioned
make an announcement real quick. Hold on 1 second, Jackson. I'm sorry. I just want to say something real quick to everybody. Be sure and be here. Hopefully, I'm gonna get to do this next Thursday night on the show with Shane and I. I'm gonna bring in Tony Altenborn. Here's why. He did a show with Mark Rogers the other day talking about all the teams that are on the network, right within the Mark Rogers Voice of College Football Network. So you're looking at all the Blue Bloods, SEC, Big Ten, and then West Virginia out of the Big 12, and then there's a Big 12 channel. But West Virginia, probably the most watched team in the Big 12, the biggest team in the Big 12. And I'm not saying it to be a homer. It's just the damn truth. I mean, look up the numbers. So I'm going to bring Tony on because it was really great. It was great charts and graphics to look at for West Virginia fans because it compared you to the Georgias, Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Michigans. It compared you to all these teams from everything from endowment funds to television viewing audience in football or basketball. He had every chart imaginable. If you missed the show, I'm going to bring him on Thursday night to share them charts with us again so we can talk about it. We're going to go over West Virginia, just where they stand and things in all the aspects of that against like a Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, Michigan, where West Virginia stands and all that. So be sure and tune in Thursday night with that. One more thing too, and I had it highlighted here, and I think there it is. Nope. He says, "Oh yeah, wet blanket. I can't watch Gundy versus Dion game. Yeah, I think Dion will be out coached in that game by about 40 miles, won't he?" Sorry, Jackson. I apologize, buddy.
It's okay. I just want to say to your point about the rivals for West Virginia. I don't see a lot of people getting excited about like West Virginia, Cincinnati. Like matter of fact, like the only games I can really think of are 2008, 2009, 2011. But that's about it. Like 2008, most notably, where West Virginia made that 15-second comeback in the fourth quarter, where like the fans were leaving, but then some of them that were about to leave, they came back. We're all happy, but that's about it. And I think also, it's like I said, if you get Pitt and Virginia Tech in the Big 12, I think we can reignite some of these rivalries for West Virginia, and it'd be good business for the Big 12 as well. Where, and I've said a lot in comment sections and in the chat quite a few times that if you get Pitt in the Big 12, you can bring back the backyard brawl on an annual basis.
Yeah.
And if you put it on Black Friday every year on Rivalry Week, that means money, money, money.
Well, Cincinnati and Pitt are a pretty good rivalry too. A lot of people don't realize that, but Cincinnati and Pitt, they've developed a rivalry over the years. Now Cincinnati and West Virginia, not a rivalry at all. Cincinnati's like 3-20 against West Virginia. It's like really lopsided. West Virginia don't consider a rivalry. Cincinnati does. Cincinnati looks at it as, hey, that's the team we need to beat because that's where we want to be, or that's who we need to go through to get to where we want to be, right? They need to go through West Virginia to become a Georgia or an Alabama. So that's a big rivalry for Cincinnati. Now, Pitt and West Virginia is a huge rivalry because guess what? Whoever wins that game is probably going to have a pretty good season because they're two pretty close teams, right? They recruit against each other. They get pretty much the same type of recruits and stuff. They're 45 minutes apart from each other. So that's a huge rivalry, a lot bigger rivalry than Pitt and Cincinnati. But Pitt and Cincinnati are probably a little bit closer. I'm not gonna say that for sure. But when you look at the games that Pitt's won versus what Cincinnati's won, probably a lot closer than West Virginia and Cincinnati. And that's only because West Virginia was so good in the early 2000s and mid 2000s and late 2000s too, up to like 2012, and we weren't too bad up until 2019. Now we didn't play Pitt all those years, but the times we did play them from 2000 to 2012, we won a lot of those, and Cincinnati too. We just dominated them. So anyway,
I wish that Pittsburgh, Penn State could play each other annually as well. Like if it were me, I would make sure Penn State, Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, West Virginia were played in November every year. I mean, I like to see more November non-conference games.
Yeah. I am
last game of the season. I think is fantastic for a lot of these non-conference games too.
All right, so let's talk about something else that's going to be interesting to everyone in our chat.
Let's hear it.
And everyone that's a West Virginia fan. Let's talk about Neil Brown and his recruiting, Shane. Bring up the players that he's recruited just the last 4 days. Let's bring those up real quick. Because just today, the #1 defensive back in the state of Virginia has chosen West Virginia over Virginia Tech, Penn State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Colorado, Tennessee, and many others. Chose West Virginia, the #1 defensive back in the state of Virginia. That is pretty damn amazing. And Neil Brown is pulling in some really great talent. And the thing about it is, that's only that. You look back the last 3 or 4 days, he's brought in some amazing talent, including quarterback that he brought in out of the portal from BYU, who's got 4 years of eligibility left. I don't know how good he is. They say he's a pretty decent quarterback.
Let me tell you a little bit about this quarterback from BYU. What I've heard is he's quite a basketball player, and he gets into people's britches. I mean, like when he guards, doesn't matter what size the guy is. He's not letting them back him up. He is basically an animal, very competitive. And the fact that he's going to be a third stringer, I don't know how long he's going to be here. Backing these guys up because he is a competitor and wants to play ball. So he might be here a couple like 2 years tops because I think the kid he's a dog.
Yeah, I think it will be too, and especially getting up there with Mike Joseph in our strength and conditioning room and being a part of the program and learning from. Look, he's got a great quarterback right now in Garrett Green to listen to and learn from, right? And the backup, Nico Marchio, not too damn shabby himself. And Nico's probably going to be our starter next year. So this guy's going to be able to sit back for 2 years and watch our quarterback, and he'll be a backup himself, but sit back and watch our 2 star quarterbacks lead this team on and learn a lot. So by the time he takes over the helm in a couple of years, we might have a pretty good quarterback on our hands. And he's got what is it? 4 years of he's got 4 years of eligibility. Am I right? Or 3 years?
Yeah. And they got this kid from Charlotte, cornerback, Dantes Fagan, on Thursday. So he's going to be coming to the Mountaineers to kind of shore up that defensive backfield. They're also pushing for a whippy running back kid from old Pennsylvania guys. So we'll see what happens with Aliquippa Sanur Brooks. So he's going to Morgantown to hang out and check out the West Virginia Elite Camp. He was there last week, so waiting to hear what happens with that guy. He is a explosive, quick twitch runner, not like a north and south type of guy. Of course, he was banging in high school, but that's high school. You also have 3-star cornerback coming to town, Terrence Deuce Edwards. We don't know who he's gonna pick, but he looks like a tall drink of water, and I think he can lay some people out. Guys, it's exciting to be a Mountaineer fan. Just saying.
Yeah. So the 2025 class, which this is one that I've missed, and I don't know how I missed it, because it's been quite a while back that he committed. Taylor Brown, defensive lineman, missed West Virginia's 2025 class, 6'3", 250 pounds. Have you watched his highlights, Shane?
Yeah, he's these guys, but here's the thing, the tape's all high school tape. I like this. I don't get to see any camp tape where they go compete against other elite guys. If you're a Division I guy and you're playing for Aliquippa, most of the kids you're playing against are not going to play college ball, so you're breaking ankles. Unless you're watching Noel Devine, where it's just a YouTube reel. I mean, it just pops out. These guys look good, and what they look like, okay, do they have the length? Do they have the speed? Do they have the athleticism? Oh, they have that? Well, let the strength coach get a hold of them and bulk them up and make them a little bigger and meaner. That's what we're looking at as fans, because I'm not a coach. I'm a fan, so that's what I look at when I watch the tape.
Yeah. So Tyler Brown is defensive tackle, 3-star. They call him Tank. Is his nickname?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be really interesting. I'm trying to look that all. I was trying to find. I think actually, hold on a second, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that we might have it here. Football recruits 2024. Let's bring this up. W's top recruits 2024 class, 42 nationally, number 6 in Big 12. But this is that recruits Rick Darius Farmer, wide receiver Florida, Israel Boyce, Nate Gabriel, Abano Awaka. Sorry, if I can't pronounce it right, I didn't name you. Sorry, so I apologize for that. Then we look at the 2025 class. It's number 33 nationally, number 6 in the Big 12 right now. But that's going to be a few days ago. That's quite a few days ago. And the last 3 days, Neil Brown has absolutely tore it up. That's probably moved up to where we're probably 1 or 2 in the Big 12 now. And I would say top 25 without a doubt in the country. Now, that'll change. Mind you, that will all change. But it's pretty interesting that Neil Brown's tearing it up right now and getting the number 1 recruit out of Virginia when Virginia Tech wanted him. I mean, we'd only stole somebody from Virginia, number 1 recruit out of Virginia. We stole a player from Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Tech, Joey. West Virginia used to be neck and neck as far as recruiting. Like we were like competing. Very comparable programs. Coaches that have been there a while. Programs are always just right at the top 20. Not so much now. I think Virginia Tech has slid a lot more than West Virginia. Uh, I think West Virginia is gaining traction where Virginia Tech's kind of losing a little bit. So if you're buying West Virginia stock, it's a good time to, it's a good time to buy because it's going up. And if you're selling, sell your Virginia Tech stock because it's going to hit a nosedive, guys. They're not looking any better this year.
Yeah. So Red Blanket says we will like Jaden Bray. I know we will. Red Blanket, we will. Let's see. Let's see. Cookie Fruit says, I believe I've seen. Oops, sorry. I believe I've seen a little film of DeAndre Desmond, and if he is the kid that I'm thinking of, I really like him.
Yeah, Cookie Fruit. Cookie Fruit, he is. He's one that pops off the. He's the one I did a video where I compared him, kind of like. He's not a YouTube sensation like Noel Devine because that's what he was one of the first internet sensations, but he scratches that itch for me. So I like him. I'm very excited to see him play. See what happens.
Somebody said something earlier, and I'm probably never going to find that comment now, but somebody said something earlier I think that their only comment was speed, and that's the truth. We're recruiting a lot of speed again.
Yeah.
Remember we did that back in the early 2000s. We started recruiting speed. Everybody remember how fast Tavon Austin was in 2012? Or Stedman Bailey. How about Geno Smith? He was pretty damn quick too. People don't realize how fast Geno Smith was, but he was pretty damn quick quarterback.
Green said it.
We recruited speed. We recruited speed back then, and then we got into the Big 12 and realized maybe speed works, but we also need some size there too. When we started recruiting size, Neil Brown's kind of taking us back to that happy medium of getting some pretty good sized guys, but having a lot of speed and a lot of great technique. He's looking at that technique and that speed, and so West Virginia is improving. You may not look at our recruiting classes and say, you're doing okay." It's probably what you would think, but actually, we're getting players that fit right in with Neil Brown's scheme. I mean, it's like he's handpicking these players. They fit right in, and he's wanting that speed, but he's wanting some size too, and he's wanting that technique, and he's teaching technique so well that, hey, Zach Frazier was a great player and a great recruit to West Virginia and stuff, but he learned so much in his years at West Virginia that made him one of the best centers, if not the best center in the country last year. And he learned that from the staff at West Virginia. Garrett Green, everybody knows Wolfley, Dale Wolfley, the Wolfman, had a show on here before he passed away. He did not like Garrett Green. He said, Garrett Green's not a Power 5 quarterback, Joey. He said, and if anybody would have known that, it was Dale Wolfley. Because Dale Wolfley, was really tied in with the university, played there, coached there, everything. And he said, look, we're going to be in trouble with Garrett Green because he's not a Power 5 quarterback, and we could be in some serious trouble with him. Garrett Green fooled him and everybody, and last year come out and tore the world up, right? What's he going to do this year? I mean, I can only imagine what his feeling's going to be this year when he went 9-4 last year, and still missed 2 games. Garrett Green missed the Pitt game, almost all the Pitt game, and he missed the was it TCU or it was TCU, wasn't it? So,
yeah,
and we still won those games. So, yeah, I think that our ceiling is going to be really, really high this year as a fan. Vegas has a 6.5, which is nuts. But yeah, I think that we could be really good this year.
Easy money to bet on the over.
Now, I'm gonna say this too because I'm streaming this on the Big 12 channel as well as the West Virginia channel. I'm not saying that West Virginia is going to be the team to beat in the Big 12 this year and they're going to be the elite team. No, I'm not saying that at all. I think West Virginia is a dark horse to win the Big 12. But, there's going to be Kansas State and Utah and even Kansas in there. But the team I'm watching, and everybody knows this, is Iowa State. And I've said this 1,000 times. You better watch Iowa State. You also better watch Texas Tech. But Iowa State, man, look, Matt Campbell's doing a great job at Iowa State. And this is the year. Think about it, guys. He has a good team every 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years. And this team that he's returning this year is really, really, really stout, really good. You better watch out for Iowa State. They might be the team to beat in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah,
So
underestimating Iowa State's a bad move. They'll chew you up like a chicken nugget if you go to Ames, Iowa.
Especially if you're playing in Ames.
and I get this, Todd. I get that, Todd. I've said this before, and Todd, maybe you haven't heard me say this and stuff. I'm gonna go over this one more time about Neil Brown because look, I'm not as close to the program as I'd like to be because I live in Beckley and in the programs in Morgantown. But I do know the culture up there. I do know what's going on. I do go up there sometimes, and I do talk to people up there every day. So I know what the culture is at West Virginia, and I know what's going on. Let me tell you something. Neil Brown had it really tough. He came from Troy. Everybody remembers. In 2018, he coached at Troy. In 2019, he came to West Virginia. Now he coached a group of 5, Troy, and didn't recruit Power 5 players. He couldn't recruit Power 5 players to Troy, right? I mean, maybe he would get 1 or 2 occasionally or something, but he didn't recruit them. So he didn't know Power 5 players. He didn't know the players that West Virginia was recruiting. He came in 2019, got it there late, January 2019. Recruiting was pretty much done by Dana Holgerson. He had to just go and just try to get some of those players to come. They were Dana Holgerson players, though. Let's face it. Dana Holgerson players are there might be good players, but they're horrible when it comes to classroom and when it comes to discipline and when it comes to being a part of the team and being a team member. They are a me member. It's me, myself, and I. That's a Dana Holgerson player, right? I mean, honestly, it is. That's the Dana Holgerson player. Me, myself, and I. The team better catch up with me. Now, Neil Brown's not like that. He has a team. He has a team. So in 2019, he had to recruit Holgerson players, and that sucked. And plus, Holgerson left this program in a dumpster. We had those players. Everybody graduated in 2018, and we had nothing. We had absolutely nothing. So then 2020 hits, and COVID hits. So now all of a sudden, Neil Brown's brand new to Power 5. He has 1 year of recruiting under his belt, but that was just recruiting Dana Holgerson recruits. And now he's got to go get his own recruits, and it's 2020, and COVID hit, and he can't go visit any of them. And none of these players know him. He was at Troy. None of these players know who Neil Brown is. Nobody that's going to be recruited to West Virginia knows who Neil Brown is in 2020. So that recruiting class, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't meet these players. So that hurt him. Then 2021, well, guess what? He's playing with the 2020, 2019, and 2020 players that he couldn't recruit. And now 2021, his recruiting class gets better, but still we're down. We're not nowhere near the level. 2022, he's still teaching them. We get a little bit better, but we're still down. Then 2023, we hit and we go 9-4, and we start seeing what a Neil Brown recruit can do and what his scheme can do. And you better watch out this year, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not saying West Virginia's going to win the Big 12 or make the playoffs, but a 10-win season will absolutely not surprise me one bit. West Virginia wins 10 games this year. And come next year, everybody's mind is going to be like, oh, okay, that dude can coach. Because I'm telling you right now, Neil Brown can coach. If you think Neil Brown can't coach, man, you're living in a bubble somewhere. He took Troy to 3 10-win seasons with victories over big teams, too. LSU. He beat LSU with a Troy team.
September 30th.
Yeah. He beat LSU. So you don't tell me that Neil Brown can't coach a team. He knows what he's doing. And so this year is going to show you. Listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If we bust and we go 6-6, hey, I'll be the first one to come on here and say, okay, Neil Brown needs to go. We returned 91% of our production on offense, and we went 6-6. Neil Brown's got to go. That ain't going to happen, guys. Tell you, his team's going to win 10 games this year. We got a tough schedule. Probably second toughest, maybe third toughest in the Big 12.
Yeah.
There are some tougher schedules, but we've got a really tough schedule opening up with Penn State, and then week 3 playing Pitt, then getting Kansas, and then Kansas State and Oklahoma State all right in a row. But at the same time, we can win them games. And if we only lose 2 games between Penn State and game 6, if we are 4-2 after that, oh, you better watch out. We're winning 10 games. Because I don't know of anybody in the second half of our schedule that could really beat us, to be honest with you. Iowa
That
State's probably got the
November,
best shot, but
that November schedule looks pretty easy. Because Cincinnati's not exactly in the Luke Fickle era. Baylor, they're just kind of meh. We don't know what's going to happen with the whole Dave Aranda situation. We don't know if they're going to have an interim coach or if Dave Aranda's finishing out the season. You have to go to Lubbock for rivalry week, but Central Florida is coming to Morgantown. Now, if you were going to the bounce house, then I'd be saying, okay, you're in trouble.
I wouldn't be worried about it at all. Look, we went to the bounce house last year. What happened?
You beat them.
We drug them up and down the field.
I
I wouldn't be worried at all about going to the bounce house. I don't know where the hype is on UCF. I can't figure any of y'all out. Where's this hype on UCF? Come on, guys. They are a good team. Don't get me wrong. And look, Gus Malzahn is probably one of the better coaches in the Big 12, without a doubt. Probably a top 3 coach in the Big 12, Gus Malzahn. But at the same time, they are UCF. They just came from Group of 5. It's going to take them a while to build to a Power 5 level, guys. They're playing a Power 5 schedule now. You're not playing a Group of 5 schedule. You can win games in a Group of 5 if you're UCF and you was in a Group of 5 and you played an occasional West Virginia or an occasional Oklahoma State. Yeah, you could win those games because it was just 1 or 2 games. It was just off games, right? The rest of the time you was playing Group of 5 schedule. Now you're playing a Power 5 schedule week in and week out. There's a big friggin' difference in that. Big difference. Now all of a sudden your players are getting beat up. And guess what? UCF don't have that Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, Iowa State, all them teams have. Guess what? Guess what UCF does not have? The facilities and stuff to help them players recover. The recovery is not near as good at UCF as it is at these other Power 5 programs, right? They don't have the facilities yet to help their players along. So if a player gets injured at UCF, they're in trouble. Bottom line, there's just not the recovery. There's not the recovery facilities there to help them. I just do not see UCF. If UCF wins 7 games this year, it will shock the hell out of me. Honestly, it will shock the mortal hell out of me. I don't see it.
I would be surprised if we see them like lose to Colorado 1 week, and then next thing we know, we see them upset a Utah or an Arizona. That's the thing about Malzahn teams; they always have that Jekyll and Hyde vibe written all over them.
Here's what gets me, because I've seen this everywhere, and I bet you 90% of the people in the chat, and Shane, you've seen this too. Everybody's hyping up UCF because they went toe-to-toe with Oklahoma State last year in the bounce house. Oklahoma State went down there and they just UCF just drug the field with them. Hey, guess what? Oklahoma State came to Morgantown last year, and West Virginia was in that game till the last minute.
Yeah, West Virginia that should have been a win. But I mean, I'm the one that give UCF credit for that, because I thought that was very surprising. Because Oklahoma,
right? But why is UCF getting all this hype of? Some people have UCF 3rd or 4th in this conference, and West Virginia back 8th or 9th. When West Virginia drug UCF up and down the field, and they say, "Well, look what they did to Oklahoma State." Well, look what West Virginia did to Oklahoma State. Well, Oklahoma State had to beat us the last minute. I mean, it's what are y'all talking about? And West Virginia beat the hell out of UCF. If you watch that game wasn't that close. I mean, I just don't understand that.
Well, before Central Florida beat Oklahoma State, drug them through the floor, and they won a tight game against Cincinnati, which, again, really nothing to brag about. And before that, they were on a 5-game losing streak, which included that blown 28-point lead against the Baylor Bare Necessities. And this was like days after they decided it was a good idea to go, you know what? We're going to give Gus Malzahn that contract extension. And
Yeah,
they
that
got
Baylor,
smacked by Kansas.
that Baylor was shocking. That
Yeah.
Baylor game was shocking. I mean, you're talking about a huge lead that you just let go
Oh,
away. But guess what?
last
That's what happens. That's what happens in Power 5 or Power 4 football now, right? That's what happens, especially if you're a group of 5 team. Look, I don't care if you're Appalachian State or Liberty, you come in and play a Power 5 schedule, you're going to struggle. Appalachian State can beat anybody in the country. We know this, right? They beat Arkansas, they beat Texas A&M, they beat Michigan, they beat a lot of big teams, right?
South
But
Carolina 2019.
right. But if you put them in a Power 5 schedule, that's not going to happen, guys. That's not going to happen. They might win 1 or 2, and then they're going to lose the rest. It's just how it is. You just don't
Well,
have the team or the facilities to keep up.
Well, you mentioned a little while ago just now about the hype being crazy for Central Florida. It's not as crazy as it was last offseason. Like, you go on Twitter, and all it was, oh, Central Florida's going to dominate the Big 12. They're going to run that conference. And
Yeah, you hear that about Utah. You hear that about Utah now. And look, Utah's a great team. A lot better team than UCF was last year. Right. I mean, Utah is 10 times the team what UCF was last year. So can Utah win the Big 12 this year and dominate? Absolutely, especially with that schedule they got, because without a doubt, Utah's got the easiest schedule in the Big 12. The easiest.
Yeah.
So
if Cam Rising is healthy for a full season, then they could win the Big 12.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we saw it with the Pac-12 when he was healthy. They did all right. But last season, why they didn't three-peat in the Pac-12? Cam Rising wasn't there. That really hurt them.
It says, Whit Bank is saying Oklahoma State always loses the next game after Bedlam. I think they do, don't they? They really do. They always lose the next game after Bedlam.
Sorry for mentioning that South Carolina App State game, man.
I like this one right here too. I tell you what pissed me off more than anything last season: the Hail Mary. Oh my God! How damn lucky can Dana Holgerson get? I mean, my God,
Garrett Green.
Look, let's face it. That was Dana Holgerson's Super Bowl. If he wanted to win one game that year, that was the game he had circled, big star around it. I mean, he was ready for that game. He probably had his players out there doing 2-a-days that week, doing nothing but passes and and running routes. I mean, I can imagine how hard he made them players practice and get ready for that game, because that was the game he wanted to win. He won it. Congratulations, Dana. But it took a lucky Hail Mary pass with 12 seconds to go that we had just scored. We had just scored and went ahead. Yeah, it pissed me off.
We know how the CW is like the curse for anybody in the ACC. Well, apparently being on the NFL Network is a curse for the Houston Cougars. Case in point, 2022 against SMU, where SMU beat them 77-63. And last season, where they played Rice in week 2, lost a double overtime 43-41. So, like, one week, we saw them losing to Rice in double overtime on NFL Network. The next thing you know, we see them. Sorry in advance for mentioning this Mountaineer Nation.
Yeah.
That Hail Mary game, they bring a hell of an A game against Texas. But
Go ahead and say it, Jackson. Go ahead and say it, Jackson. JT Daniels was able to beat Houston, and Garrett Green didn't, and JT Daniels left West Virginia to go to Rice. So go ahead, just go ahead and spit it out there.
Oh man,
I mean,
JT Daniels might as well have that little have go will travel card with him, because I mean he just goes somewhere. Like one week he's at West Virginia, next week he's at USC, and he's at Rice and
Georgia.
He gets a free sub.
Yeah, yeah. You start at USC, go to Georgia, go to West Virginia, go to Rice. I mean, you're that's your 5-year career. It's 4 different schools. That's crazy. I mean, and Cam Rising, what's he on his 24th season? Cam Rising is like his 24th season now. I mean, it's crazy.
I believe he's in his 6th year.
No, I'm thinking it's like 7th year. I think he got like he got he got a waiver or something one year, didn't he? He's like in year 7.
Yeah, well, he didn't play for the full season last year.
So it's crazy, some of these players, and I heard something the other day, somebody's gonna be starting their 8th or 9th year. Hell, that might have been Cam Rising. I don't know.
Oh, that guy Cam McCormick at Miami.
Oh, okay. That's who it was? Yeah.
It's
Miami's gonna be a
nuts.
good team this year, guys. Miami's gonna be a good team this year. Miami's gonna win the ACC. Mark my word. Miami's gonna win the ACC this year.
That's another Jekyll and Hyde team right there, where one week they're great against a team like Florida or Florida State or Clemson. Next thing you know, they pissed away against the Georgia Tech.
Listen, Mario Cristobal's a good coach. He's been building something down there. He's not been looking at the short picture. He's been looking at the long-term picture and getting Miami back. And I really believe he's got that team this year. I believe Miami's back. I'm sorry, guys. I believe Miami's back this year. Better watch out for Miami in the ACC. That's what I gotta say. I think Clemson is falling off, and it's not Clemson's fault. It's Dabo Swinney's fault.
Yep.
He won't do nothing in the portal. He got players leaving for the portal, but he won't bring none in. You know, it's crazy. So, and then
Honestly, I feel like
Colorado. You got Colorado and Deion Sanders, who does nothing but portal. That's not a team. He's not going to do worth a crap. So,
they're gonna put that Colorado State on game on CBS this year. I'm just wondering if 60 Minutes is gonna try to do like their own version of College Game Day. Ooh, oh my God, Colorado State. Oh, we get the interview primetime again. Oh, yeah. No.
You're funny.
But Timothy, if it makes you feel better, I will say, West Virginia Nation, you're going to be very happy when Kansas come into your backyard on September 21st. That
I
I can
think so
promise
too.
you.
I think so too. Me and Shane were talking about that the other night. I said, a couple years ago, West Virginia was caught off guard. Kansas came in. What was that? It was week 3 or 4. Kansas
Week
coming
2
to
in
Morgantown,
2022.
and
Funny
Kansas coming to town, and we were just thinking it's the same old Kansas as always, and we was going to beat them. And hell, they beat us. I mean, so yeah, we owe them. So yeah, they come into Morgantown this year. They're going down.
I will say though, if you treat your opponents like they're the crappy opponent, you treat every opponent like they're your best opponent, you're going to be all right.
Shane, you're being awful quiet.
No, I'm just sitting here. My memory's not that good to remember other teams' games last year. I have to look that up. You guys are just like flashcard, memory. It's fantastic. I'm just in awe. So, yeah. Other than like, I keep getting caught up in the Oklahoma State, and then again, of course, the Houston game for West Virginia. But I think that was the biggest burp for Neil Brown last year was that Oklahoma State game, because the game against Houston, that was a little bit of mismanagement the second quarter for coaching, and then it was just players stepping on their crank, if you know what I mean, and doing stupid stuff. The penalty for Garrett Green. But I think this year, I think Neil has a handle on it. The kids are all rowing in the same direction. I think the kids at that point weren't rowing in the same direction. This year is going to be a new page, and it's going to be a different story.
Yeah. Well, so we named this show Big Equity and Naming Rights, Pros and Cons is big enough. We started out with that. I do want to go back to that for a second because I do know that some people were saying in the chat, that North Korea wouldn't have enough money to buy that company out. No, but there are billionaires there. But it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, if this is a Middle Eastern company, if you trace it back, they're United Arab Emirates. That's where the company is. So it's already getting the Middle East involved in college football. And let's just say they sell it to Saudi Arabia. All right. I mean, do we even want that? I mean, even though Saudi Arabia is not going to be as bad as North Korea or China, it's still, do you want that in our college football here in America? I don't think we do. I worry about that. Now, if it was an American company, strictly American company, if Elon Musk was saying, I'm going to give $1 billion to the Big 12, and I want 15% of the equity for life for the
Yeah.
Big 12. I might be
Okay.
okay with that. I might be okay with that because I trust an American company to say, all right, I'm not selling to this person over here. I can't trust a Middle Eastern country, I'm sorry, to say that they're going to look out for our interests in America.
Well, any
I
equity
can't.
firm, Joey, is going to look out for making money. So it
Right,
doesn't.
right.
I mean, so it is what it is. It's a wait and see thing. It's a great video that we put out today. It was entertaining. I had a great time talking about it. But I'll tell you what, I can't really tell you right now what's going to happen because there's so many variables. We need to know. We have to know how long, and then we'll be able to determine if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But right now, it's better than what we have. I mean, it puts the Big 12 in a better position. Now we're just waiting for other shoe to drop. That's it.
Yeah.
How about Tesla and ats? Like, what do you think about like Tesla and ats or SpaceX having naming rights in the Big 12? And you have like all the Big 12 conference games and non-conference games, home games, streaming on ats. For those who don't want to have to pay ESPN Plus, like $9.99 a month, well, hell, you can watch those games for free on ats.
I wouldn't want. I really, honestly, even though I said Elon Musk, I wouldn't want Elon Musk to be invested in the Big 12 because everybody would call us the battery conference. That we're running on batteries. I mean, seriously, I don't want that. But I'm just saying, an American company, General Electric, somebody. I don't care who it is, but
I'm surprised like Elon had like a bowl game, like the Tesla Bowl or the Ets Bowl. That would be a bowl game I'd watch.
the Tesla Bowl and the winners get all two Teslas.
There you go.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Anyway, so we just wanted to come on live with you guys for a little while, talk a little about this, and see what everybody's thoughts were. Jackson, appreciate you coming in with us. I wish some people out in the chat would come in with us, especially Mountaineer fans or Big 12 fans. Hell, just Big 12 fans coming in with us because Jackson's an Alabama fan. Jackson comes in with us all the time, and we love Jackson because Jackson is amazing, very smart. I mean, extremely smart when it comes to college football. But still, he's not a Big 12 guy, and he's not a Mountaineer. So, we'd love to have you guys join us. But anyway, Jackson, tell everybody where to find you at real quick.
Oh, they can find me on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979, where I am 166 subs away from the magic number 500. And also, they can find my next episode of the Jacksonian Tuesday morning, 9:30 a.m. Central Time, where I will have Corey Brada, the host of From the Hawkeye at the Storm and co-host of Hawkeyes Live at Iowa Football at the Voice College Football, where we will be discussing the impact Caitlin Clark has had on the WNBA. How does he feel personally about Caitlin Clark not being on the Olympics? No worries, it's not going to be only Caitlin Clark because we're going to talk a lot about Iowa football and Iowa men's basketball, and we're going to be discussing how long Kurt Ferentz has at Iowa. But I'll
Well,
tell you
let's face
something.
it, you can't talk about Iowa without talking about Caitlin Clark. You just can't do it. You can't talk
that's
about the
true.
WNBA without talking about Caitlin Clark now.
No, I mean she's kind of like the Tiger Woods of the WNBA.
Yeah, she is. She is.
So it's just how it is. But I will say, stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. But in the meantime, let's get West Virginia football to Voice College Football to 2,000 subs before start season, and let's get Big 12 football to Voice College Football to 500 subs, and let's get that channel to 1,000 subs.
I want to say, yeah, let's get West Virginia football to Voice College Football to 2,000 subs. But I would much rather say, let's get West Virginia football to the playoffs. To the playoffs, baby.
Playoffs. I just want to
Playoffs.
win a game.
Shane, tell everybody where to find you at and what you got going on this week.
Well, guys, on on Thursdays and Fridays. Thursdays, Big 12 show with Joey at 8 p.m. Fridays, the West Virginia show at 8 p.m. And, we just love to see you here and join us in the chat. And if you don't have anything better to do, share it with a friend. If you don't like the friend, share it with the friend still. And like and subscribe.
If you don't like the friend, share it with his friend. Because it's a great show. So share it with his friend so that his friend will hear, and show your friend up. Listen, everybody, Monday night, new show. We do trivia on Monday night. Sports trivia. Very easy trivia. It's nothing that hard. If you know how many penalty yards you get for a false start, you could probably pass our trivia. It's just pretty simple trivia. Basic, easy, and it's all interactive. You don't have to come on a show. You don't have to type in a bunch of words. You don't have to be a professional typer. You just type in 1, 2, 3, or 4 because you're going to get a question and 4 possible answers, and you type in 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that's it. And so it's pretty simple. So join us Monday night, and that show's not till 10:30 on Monday night. We do it late, 10:30 Eastern time, but we want to be able to get the Central time and the Pacific time and people all around, Canada or whatever involved in it because there's sports fans everywhere. So we want to be able to get them all involved. And we thought about it if we go at like 8 o'clock, that's only 5 o'clock on the Pacific coast. Everybody's eating dinner, or on their drive home from work, and they can't be there. So we decided to go with like 10:30 at night so that everybody can be there not too late. It only goes for about an hour. Be sure and tune in with us. But anyway, hey, great show. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. We had a good time. I thought we had a good time. Everybody have a good time?
I had a great time. Thank you for having me on.
Everyone have a great night. We will see you again Monday night, 10:30 for trivia.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.